Punch Cartoons 2, I'm Benjamin Hertzler for this group for History 306. So first we have to get into what a Punch cartoon is. It was a political satirical cartoon in a British magazine. They were very short, they were very humorous, and they were very frank. The Punch, which is the magazine, initially founded as anti-aristocratic and radical humanitarian, very liberal, but in the 1860s, it became much more conservative. Punch was also very anti-American, especially at the time, because of what they saw as the deplorable continuation of slavery. This actually garnered sympathy for the British to the abolitionist cause, and President Taylor actually got letters regarding this. Later, during the American Civil War, they initially tried to stay a neutral ground between North and South, but very quickly turned anti-North and began supporting the South against their prior viewpoints. So in this review, we're going to discuss how their view changed, what they generally thought of the war, all of that. It was a very humorous magazine, and a lot of British magazines were talking about the American Civil War because Britain had a very vested interest in the war, and Punch is one of the most influential and popular. Here we can see a cartoon from before the war. It's called The Disunited States of Black Business. And you can see on the left that the South is depicted as very backwards, very ugly looking, and wielding a firearm. And the North is depicted as this proper gentleman. Here you can see before the war that they actually depicted the South very disparaging and the North very favorably. And here you can see another cartoon from before the war. It's called The Land of Liberty. It discusses the Mexican-American War and slavery. It's basically just building on the anti-American viewpoints of Punch. Here you can see a cartoon from Lincoln's inauguration, where he's depicted, very accurately, very much what he actually looked like, and very favorably as well. Here you can see later, Lincoln is depicted as this grinning, ugly man who is dressing as a sham of what he thinks modern man should look like. And you can see this happening very quickly. This cartoon is only a year after the previous. Abraham Lincoln actually expressed his own discontent with Punch and their opinion because they had so suddenly turned against the North because the North had started to do anti-British things. They captured the Confederate diplomats. There were a lot of reasons. When Punch started to turn against the North, they also decided to depict Lincoln as having a personal disdain for African Americans and started poking fun at the Union cause. They saw themselves as being the major informant for the British people to know what was happening in the United States at the time. Here we can see them continuing this message of Lincoln being anti-emancipation. This is from 1863. Here we can see them commenting on the lack of money and the lack of men willing to serve the Union. And I'm actually going to bring up a couple of cartoons that are in here. So this is immediately after Lincoln's second inauguration, and it's entitled The Federal Phoenix. You can see that Lincoln, as this phoenix image, he is burning the logs which say United States Constitution, states' rights, habeas corpus, stuff like that. You can see this in closer depiction. See how he's much better depicted here. And really, just to drive it home, here you can see on the left and on the right what he turned into over the course of the cartoons. You can see a cartoon depicted earlier in the presentation entitled Brutus and Caesar. And so African Americans here are depicted as Caesar being betrayed by Lincoln, who is Brutus in the classic Shakespearean play. Ironically, this cartoon, which you can see is Lincoln trying to play his last card, is from about the correct date for the Battle of Gettysburg. So thank you and have a good day.